She's gonna meet me at the fuck!
Sparkling water is for winners. Hey everybody, this is Atticus the Death Miller, and welcome to a very special video that I am bringing out to you guys just before I fly over to Amsterdam. Now, I know all of you people are going to be saying this to me. Atticus the Death Miller, what in God's blazes are you talking about? Well, dear viewers, this is a very special video because this video was intended to be out in the spring of 2015. I know, isn't that crazy? Planning on doing this video, but then a lot of things got in the way since I was still in college during that time, since I was a senior, getting ready for my senior project. So I was getting everything ready and stuff, as well as making other videos. So unfortunately, it was scrapped and I put it there later onto my hard drive, just in case if I ever had the idea of bringing it back up. So fast forward over to 2019, and I really got inspiration from this really awesome YouTuber called the Punk Rock MBA, aka Finn McKenty, which I highly encourage all of you guys, please subscribe to his channel. He is one of the greatest, one of the best YouTube channels I have ever seen since one of my friends, Silent Wolf, would not shut the fuck up about him. But what really inspired me to revamp this commentary idea that I had back in 2015 was that he did this video on his What Killed genre, and it was that on death metal. And so this video that I am doing is yet again a commentary, and it's on a news report of death metal. And as all of you guys know, I am Atticus the Death Metaler, and death metal is one of my favorite metal subgenres. So I got my obituary shirt and my death vest. Gotta be repping. So please, take my hand. Let us go on a magical journey.
Welcome to a Current Affair Extra. Ahead in this hour, we'll explore the dangers and desires that your children come in contact with every day.
Our first story deals with a subculture of heavy metal music that some feel is sending a dangerous message to your kids. It's been associated with satanic worship, suicide, and animal sacrifice. But is death metal music just hype or something that could actually hurt your kids?
Let's find out.
We don't go around kicking dogs to death, you know. We don't like tell people to go out and do stuff like that.
It's angry music, and it doesn't hurt anybody. They listen to it, they get involved in it, and they get their aggressions out. They go to the shows and they bang around in the what they call a slam pit, and they get their aggressions out.
I just love on like the very first half of just the footage alone just shows ordinary death metalers just going around saying, oh no, we don't kill dogs or just, you know, do satanic rituals and slaughter shit and, you know, eat your babies. We're just normal people that just make aggressive music to, you know, get all that aggression out in a healthy manner. And it's just like, that just completely ruins your entire scoop. But then again, it was like the late 80s and the early 90s, so nobody really gave a fuck about what these people were saying. I mean, during this time, it was like the right was the SJWs that we are facing currently right now in the 2010s.
Jeff's a big music fan. He's grew up listening to Black Sabbath.
Chris Edmonds is talking about notorious mass murderer Jeffrey Dahmer. In a chilling illustration of his anger, Edmonds had a photo of Dahmer autographed by death metal band members in Tampa, Florida. Why?
You can take Jeffrey Dahmer and you can put a face on it. You know, what you're feeling inside, the way he did towards people, that's the anger, you know, that we feel inside. And he just kind of developed it, I think. It's a face to put on somebody just so you can see, this is for real. This is definitely for real. We are pissed off.
You know what? I'm kind of glad that I've waited until this year in 2019 to make this video with this part right here. I'm just gonna play this clip right now.
Ooh, edgy boil out. Sharps and sides. Be careful you don't cut yourself and all that fucking edge.
Yes! It worked so well! I am so glad I waited so long for this.
Death music is supposed to be scary. Its fans say it's the musical version of a horror movie. But recently, in a New Jersey juvenile court, allegations of a real-life horror, rightly or wrongly attributed to metal music. Sussex County Prosecutor Dennis O'Leary.
They held the dog up by the chain and kicked it into unconsciousness. They thought they had killed the dog at that point.
The dog, allegedly attacked by two 15-year-old boys, was a family pet, a 5-year-old black Labrador mix.
She was the type of dog that would take her front paws and just like wrap them around your leg, like giving you a little hug.
What you're about to hear will disturb and upset many people. The 15-year-olds who'll face the courts in about a month apparently concluded from the death metal music they were listening to that they had to sacrifice an animal in a satanic ritual.
The tongue was ripped from the animal's mouth by hand, and then placed inside of a satanic insignia, and that constituted the ritual.
I don't murder my dog. I don't murder my dog. Am I right? He's a good boy. He's definitely a good boy. But deadass for real seriousness right here, I think animal cruelty, animal abuse is one of the scummiest things that you could ever do. If someone decided to just hurt my dog or my brother's dog, deadass, I would go American History X on these motherfuckers. Let me just say that. And like, bruh, like, death metal doesn't make you kill your dog. Alright? Well, yeah, I mean, granted, it was like the late 80s and early 90s, but still, man, like, death metal doesn't make you kill your pets? No! If I would say, it would make you kill the person that's, like, about to abuse your dog. That's the thing right there. But to the pet owner, I will indeed bring out my deepest, heartfelt condolences. I mean, losing your pet, especially to a bunch of really psychotic 15-year-old fucks, it's tough. It really is, and it's just terrible. And music is nothing to blame for the dog's death. I would indeed say it would probably be due to the fact that those two kids probably were inspired by their dead-ass trailer trash father just beating the shit out of a dog, or just beating the shit out of his wife in an alcoholic rage. That's the most that I would get. That's just what I'm speculating here. Like, nobody knows, but the thing is, death metal is not to blame. I've been listening to death metal for a good chunk of my life. I have never done anything like crazy.
The two accused youths said one of the bands that influenced their actions was Deicide. Lead singer of the group, Glenn Benton, reportedly said of the slaying, it was cool. He claimed to have killed many animals himself and enjoyed it.
Of course Glenn Benton would say shit like that. I mean, quite honestly, most of all of these, like, death metal musicians that are onto this news piece are either just... I'm pretty sure that they're all just fucking around, trolling the normie audiences and shit. I mean, like, let's face it, death metal bands back then, they were seen as pretty mysterious and edgy boys up until, like, the mid-90s when black metal took over, and Yeah, I mean, Punk Rock NBA said it best onto his video on his What Killed the Genre series.
The metal music industry often complains it is unfairly dealt with by the media.
I mean, isn't that a fair complaint? Because, I mean, metal music for decades, for fucking decades, has been shat on by the mainstream media for so many decades, so many stigmas, especially onto death metal and black metal. I mean, there's still some of the stigmatization when it comes to metal with that one dude that did the church burnings up in, I think it was like Missouri or Louisiana this year. Please let me know in the comments, but yeah, like, everyone always goes around saying, oh, this guy listens to death metal music, he must be a crazy psychopath or some shit. Which, it's just so fucking far from the truth. Like, yeah, you still get all these speculations onto metal music as of right now, but, like, as of currently, I think metal, especially death metal, has really gotten the credit that they deserve. Their legacy has really shaped a good portion of extreme music as well. I mean, I could also say the same stuff about hip-hop and rap, especially with the SoundCloud rappers, which I will talk about later on to this video. Like, hip-hop, rap, and metal, they have been criticized heavily by mainstream media, and of course the religious movements and stuff. They still go on as of this year, but back then, they went hardcore on them. Like, super fucking hardcore.
Satan. Tampa, Florida is being hailed as the center of death metal in the United States. It's where established bands and up-and-comers are attracting a horde of eager fans. While most bands boast no religious affiliations.
Alright, I'm just gonna stop here because I know at this part of that report, I am super biased when it comes to this. Like, as a Florida boy growing up for the past 27 years, I will indeed say that Florida death metal is the best death metal out there. I mean, you had like a bunch of death metal scenes, like England had Bolt Thrower and Napalm Death and Carcass, so to speak. Please let me know in the comments of any other English death metal bands. They had their own scene. New York had Incantation, Immolation, Pyrexia, and fucking Suffocation. And you had Scandinavia, which had Dismember, Entombed, Grave, and fucking Unleashed. All great death metal scenes, but dead ass, I will always stay true. The fact that Florida death metal was probably the best death metal out here. I mean, Death, Obituary, Cannibal Corpse, one of my favorite death metal bands, Morbid Angel, Deicide, Massacre, Atheist, Cynic, Hate Eternal. I could go fucking on. I mean, Florida was like the perfect breeding ground, especially into Tampa, where you had the best metal bands. Now, granted, yes, I know most of you people are going to be saying, well, Cannibal Corpse originated from New York. I'm very well aware of that, but they've really made a name for themselves in Tampa, Florida. That is all I gotta say right here. Most of you people will disagree, and you know what? That's fine, but I will stay fucking true to the fact that Florida death metal will always be the best death metal in my opinion.
Some, like Morbid Angel, are self-confessed Satanists. Does the devil work through you?
There is no devil. I'm the devil.
Well, who is Satan?
I'm Satan.
Oh my god, I swear to God, David Vincent looks so different than he does right now, like, especially when he made his like country album not too long ago. Holy fucking shit. But I could just imagine the reporter just absolutely shitting himself if he ever interviewed Gigi fucking Allen. Holy shit.
If a girl gets raped when she's 10, she may not get raped and killed when she's 15 because she'll be conditioned for that situation.
The lyrics of David Vincent's group Morbid Angel are often venomous attacks upon Christianity. This clip banned from MTV.
Now, yes, I mean, in many ways, this was a time in where you had a lot of Christian groups, mostly televangelists, really have a strong influence, mostly in America, where the televangelists really ran supreme, and where you had all these movements just really bashing the shit out of metal bands. And it was really a, I would say, a counterculture thing to really bash the shit out of Christianity. Now, I can remember growing up, mostly into high school, while getting into black metal, like, why are these bands, like, being all Satanists and shit? Now, keep in mind over here, I was really balls deep into Roman Catholicism since I grew up in a Catholic family. And I recently had my confirmation, and I was just like, why the fuck are these bands just talking shit about Christianity? It's all, Christianity's, you know, a force of good and stuff. Now, this was me back then, but as I grew up, I realized that the Catholic Church had a lot of skeletons in their closet, and a bunch of people, you know, made a lot of very valid criticisms of the church, not to mention the greedy-ass televangelists that did all this, like, con artist shit onto, you know, helpless victims. And, you know, it was the norm to really bash the ungodly shit out of Christianity. Granted, as of right now, the whole topic, you know, making songs about bashing the shit out of Christianity is just, it's just done to death over and over and over and over and over again, and it's just, people just find it very comfortable to shit on Christianity. Now, do I think all Christians are bad? No. I mean, granted, I was brought up in a Catholic family. I thought I was, you know, from a good upbringing, but then college came and I was, like, really going all retarded, you know, anti-establishment, you know, edgy counterculture shit onto my parents, onto saying, you know, a bunch of shit that I really regret saying. But as of right now, I guess you could say I really grew up, and I really don't think that all Christians are bad people. But I will say that Christianity still has a shit ton of skeletons in their closets, but they're not as bad as they used to be back then. But what I'm trying to say here is that, you know, this was a time in where, you know, even though death metal was gaining some hype in the early 90s, they were still getting shat on hard by these groups.
The lyrics from another death metal band, Cannibal Corpse, sing words we cannot repeat here, except to say they relate to sex abuse, sadism, cannibalism, necrophilia, infanticide, mutilation, molestation, and death. Language most people would find repulsive and sickening.
Oh my fucking god. I could just imagine the normie audience watching this report and just being all like,
alright, buddy, shit just went from 0 to 100 real fucking quick.
But seriously, man, Cannibal Corpse, saw them 6 times. Never a dull moment seeing those guys.
In their days, even the Beatles were considered outrageous by some. How tame now does this comment from Beatle John Lennon seem?
We meant more to kids than Jesus did.
And yet, in December 8th, 1980, John Lennon was shot dead by self-proclaimed Beatles fanatic Mark David Chapman. Yep, just by saying that.
More recently, the heavy metal band Judas Priest faced charges their music resulted in the suicide of a teenager.
The misunderstanding that they had with their parents for whatever reasons, and all the other connotations, these boys saw fit to take their own lives. Nothing to do with music.
The court found Judas Priest lyrics were protected under the First Amendment rights to freedom of speech.
Now, I also really gotta say this because I do recall that Ozzy Osbourne had a similar situation when it came to a song of his. I believe, called Suicide Solution. Yeah, I did a little bit of a quick Google search, and yes, it is Suicide Solution. I just want to make sure because sometimes my mind's a little bit rusty here. But yeah, I really do not like this whole mentality over people just blaming music, blaming video games, and blaming fucking movies for just like murders and suicides, especially over to suicides over here. And look, I don't think that music is to blame for suicide at all whatsoever. I don't think that bands are to blame for suicide. Even still to this day, I find it very absolutely abhorrent that we still have people that are literally blaming for just all the ills of the world and stuff. But it's kind of funny because I just thought of that one line off of Billy Loomis from the first Scream movie, and it is...
Now, Sid, don't you blame the movies. Movies don't create psychos. Movies make psychos more creative.
However, in Australia, under the banner of family values, the government has begun confiscating shipments of death metal CDs because of the offensive lyrics.
You know, it's really funny that Australia has some of the best metal bands down under, like bands like Psychroptic, Neobliviscaris, and some of the best deathcore out there like Thy Art Is Murder, Boris the Blade, Aversion's Crown, oh, and also Parkway Drive, and yet it's still the same thing, but it's reversed being enragingly politically correct.
Do you want to fucking finish me off, mate?
There are those, however, who'll argue death metal music is doing more good than harm as therapy for angry and frustrated youngsters.
Well, this isn't hurting people. This is entertaining people. This is providing release for, you know, for kids in America, and I'm all for that.
I think it's the fault of everything that your parents and my parents believed in crumbling before our eyes. Reagan and Bush gave kids the noise. The kids are giving the noise right back.
And I absolutely agree with that statement, because in many ways, death metal is pretty much therapy to people, especially when I go to death metal shows. For instance, Cannibal Corpse being my favorite death metal band, every time that Cannibal Corpse played The Time to Kill Is Now, which was pretty much my favorite song just to mosh in the pit. Like, I literally go fucking berserk in the fucking mosh pit, and it is so worth it, and it's also very therapeutic in my opinion. Now, yes, there are other ways that I can get all my anger out. I go do cardio, I box, I often do a bunch of other workouts just to get all the stress and anger out of me. But with the mental side, death metal is pretty therapeutic in my honest opinion. I think it is pretty healthy when you're getting all the anger and rage out. Especially to, you know, bands like Cannibal Corpse, Immolation, Cataclysm, all those great bands. I think they are great ways of letting out your anger.
One of the upcoming death bands is Obituary. Obituary is considered a more middle-of-the-road death band, but they still sing of death, gore and destruction.
And it's all just music, no matter what kind of music it is. I mean, if it's classical music or if it's opera, it's just music.
Trevor Perez's parents, Beverly and Lee, have no qualms about their son's music.
We've always been open at the house and talking with him about music, and he's always loved it, and he's always been a good boy and never had any reason to... And the other people that are in the band are from good families, and they're keeping control of their kids, and they know what they're doing, and we've never had any problems.
I think that the people out there that have concerns for their children dealing with this kind of music, I think it's warranted, and I think they ought to pay attention to what's going on with each individual's child and make sure that they're not getting, you know, off on the wrong foot.
This, boom, right over here, destroys your whole fucking fear-mongering mentality back in those times. It is parents like those that I really do appreciate. Now, even though I have been sort of hard onto my parents back in the early 2010s when I was being all angsty, edgy, anarchist, and shit like that, especially bashing Christianity, but I will always thank my parents for basically not sheltering the shit out of me, being fear-mongered by this bullcrap over here, and just keep on parenting over their 3 sons, me included. It is those parents right there that I absolutely fucking praise right here, because they know what they're doing, and they know that the music is not really that bad, and if people like me like it, then they're happy.
You shouldn't be scared. They're just normal people. They look a little weird sometimes. Some of them are a little bit strange. Cannibal Corpse. Gangs out in L.A. I mean, that's a much more frightful thing to me than hanging out here with a bunch of long-haired guys in black t-shirts.
Okay then, racist.
Listen to the music. Perhaps we should be listening to these young men and wondering at their fuming anger.
A lot of disgust, and it's hard to sing about dancing around in a flower garden when you feel the way we do.
If I couldn't get it out this way, I'd get it out another way, a lot worse.
So that's it for this piece. I just really gotta say, I'm really glad that I decided to bring this out from the archives of my hard drive and really just make a very fun video and express on how I felt about this video, and really just see on how a lot of times have changed. Now granted, yes, death metal has made a great legacy, but like the majority of all those death metal bands now are just like, a bunch of just guys in their late 40s and 50s. And I mean, they've been really hyped up into the mainstream limelight during the late 80s and early 90s, but black metal really was a new kid on the block during the mid to late 90s. But I will also really indeed say that hip-hop and rap is now like the real entertaining music that is getting a lot of people really interested into. Like me especially. I mean, I'm now listening more to Lil Peep, XXXTentacion, Ghostmane, Scarlord, and Machine Gun Kelly. But I still listen to metal all the time. But I guess you can say I've really made my music taste a little bit more diverse in some sort of ways. And it's really funny on how that one dude brought up, the gangs of LA and shit, when in fact, hip-hop and rap has now become a lot more influential and has borrowed some influences of death metal, mostly from Ghostmane and Scarlord, and bringing it onto the hip-hop and rap scene nowadays, which is really, really crazy, isn't it? But yeah, that I just felt like bringing this video out to all of you guys just before I fly up to Amsterdam with my 2 brothers. So yeah, what were your guys' favorite death metal bands? Mostly to the old school death metalers watching this video growing up. Leave them down in the comments below, or anybody in general who loves death metal. What is your favorite death metal band? Again, leave them down in the comments below. And yep, I guess I gotta start packing. Without further ado, ladies and gents, I am Atticus the Death Metaler. Hope you like this video. Subscribe to my channel. Links are down in the description below. Keep it metal and have an excellent and blessed day, y'all. Proust!